Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to Pamela's Healing Journey, Trauma to Triumph. Today I want to do something a little bit different. This is sort of like story time, where I'll be sharing the hardest lesson I learned during my healing journey, something that shaped me, challenged me, but ultimately helped me to grow. Healing isn't a straight path, and I think it's important to be honest about the tough moments. So grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, and let's dive in. For a long time, I believed that healing was about fixing myself. I thought that I was broken because of my traumatic experiences. I thought that if I could just get better or move on from my trauma, that everything would be okay. It wasn't until I hit a major roadblock in my journey that I realized something important. Healing isn't about fixing yourself. It's about learning to live with what you've been through and accepting all parts of you, even the broken ones. It was one of those really low moments when I felt completely stuck that I learned a hard lesson, one that took me years to fully understand. So that hard lesson was that I needed to learn to accept myself and all the pieces of me, not fix me. Because I was never really broken. All right. So healing isn't linear. It is messy, unpredictable, and sometimes it feels like you take 2 steps forward and then 3 giant leaps back. More than that, I learned that healing doesn't mean erasing the trauma or pretending it didn't happen. I wish I could tell you that's the case. You will not forget the trauma. It's not going to go away no matter how much you work on it. For so long, I just wanted to fix myself, to make it go away, and to be normal again. I just wanted to be done with it and free from it. But over time, I came to realize that the more I tried to push the trauma down, the more it controlled me. The more I resisted my emotions, the more they overwhelmed me. And that's when I learned this critical lesson. Healing is about acceptance, not perfection. It's about being kind to yourself through the mess, embracing those nasty scars, and allowing yourself to feel everything. Yes, everything, no matter how uncomfortable it might be. So in my own journey, this happened to me, I would say I was about like a few years into therapy. I had done a big chunk of therapy over a 2-year time frame. Off and on, sometimes I would meet regularly with my counselor, and then I wouldn't see her for a couple months, and then I would check back in. And so in those first few years of my recovery journey, I worked really hard. I did a lot of work. I did the homework. I attended groups. And there came a point in time where I felt relatively good. I wasn't having panic attacks anymore. I could venture out in society without becoming completely overwhelmed, although my anxiety level was still high, but I was not constantly feeling like I was being triggered. The flashbacks weren't as often. The nightmares had lessened. Like I really got to this point where I was like, oh, I'm done. I'm cured. I have healed myself. No, was not the case, because that is not how healing works. So I remember the first time after I had stepped away from therapy and actively working on my trauma journey, and I was suddenly being re-triggered. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard about anniversaries. I think that's the term that's used. Anyways, that's what comes to mind. But sometimes our current life will mimic things from the time of when we experienced our trauma. So in my case, when my oldest son turned the age that I was when I was abused, suddenly I really started having challenges. I was having chronic nightmares. The panic attacks were back. I couldn't handle touch. Like there was just a lot of my triggers just came flooding back. And I didn't understand what was going on because I was like, what's going on here? I've healed from this. I've fixed this already. This shouldn't be coming back up. So anniversaries are something to make a note of. Just FYI, on a side note. So yeah, anniversaries for me have been when my kids turn the age, when each of my children have turned the age that I was when I was abused. And then when each of my children, who are all boys, turn the ages of the abusers, of my abusers, anniversary trauma trigger again. And then more recently, my niece and her daughter moved in with us for a brief period of time over the summer, and I was constantly being triggered again, and I couldn't make the connection, but the connection was she was the same age as I was when I had been abused. I also know that for me, anniversary times is between Christmas and spring, which is the time that I believe that my trauma occurred. So things like, all right, sorry, I got a little sidetracked on the whole topic of like anniversaries. That's to do with triggers. And I do feel it's important because it's something that it took me a little bit of while to understand and then be able to pull that knowledge in and connect it when it was happening in real life time. But that's not what today's video about. Today we are talking about the importance of why you need to accept all parts of you, even the broken parts, even the hurt parts, and move away from the thought about fixing, because that's not what healing is, right? Okay, so once I truly learned to accept that healing wasn't about fixing myself and that I didn't need to be fixed, to be honest, I started to show up for myself in a whole new way. I stopped demanding that I be perfect. I began to focus on progress, however small it was. I started to allow myself the grace to have bad days, to make mistakes, and to not always have to have everything together. And I gotta tell you, it's been pretty freeing. I also learned that it's not only okay to ask for help, but it's important to ask for help. Asking for help is a lifelong skill that everybody needs because we as human beings all need help from time to time. I spent so many years trying to do things alone, thinking that reaching out for support meant that I wasn't strong enough. So with my anniversaries, situations popping up, it would take me months. And then later on, it would take me weeks to be able to pick up that phone and call my counselor and say, all right, we got another piece of the puzzle here that we have to start working on. Because asking for help is not something I'm good at. Just on my own experiences of growing up as a child in a emotionally abusive home, asking for help would get me criticized, certainly didn't get my needs met, and it would become about how I was inconveniencing my mother. So asking for help is still something that I struggle with today, but I've done a lot of work on it because I understand and recognize the importance of asking for help. Okay, so asking for help is super important, whether that's through a therapist, a support group, or even a close friend. It's all part of the healing process. We were not meant to heal alone. I'm going to say that again. We were not meant to heal alone. It doesn't mean that you need a professional therapist if that's something that you don't have the resources to have. Online support groups are great. Having some close connections with friends can help you, provided that you both are comfortable having conversations about your yuck. But we need connection. We need compassionate connection in order to heal. So since learning this lesson that healing is about acceptance and not fixing, my healing journey has become much more about self-compassion than self-fixing. And while I'm still learning and growing every day, I've come to appreciate the journey, both the highs and the lows. There's no perfect way to heal, and that's okay. If you're struggling with the idea of healing or feeling frustrated because you're not fixed yet, I want you to know that you are not broken. Say it with me. I am not broken. You are not a puzzle that needs to be put back together perfectly. You are human. And part of healing is allow yourself to be exactly where you're at. So that's the hard lesson I've learned in my healing journey, acceptance over fixing. And if you're going through something similar, I want you to remember that the journey is yours. And it's okay to take it at your own pace. You are in the driver's seat. Healing doesn't look the same for everyone, and that's what makes your story so powerful. Thank you for listening to my story today, and if you found this helpful and if it resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share for more content on trauma recovery. Remember, you are not alone. You don't have to figure it all out to start healing, and I am right here with you, walking the journey. Best wishes.